I just found out my sister has been secretly dating my ex-husband for years, and now they're getting married and want me to be the maid of honor while taking over custody of my kids. I never thought my sister, Maya, 29F, would be the one to betray me like this. When she called last weekend asking to meet up, her voice had been unusually hesitant, almost nervous, and I figured she was in some kind of trouble. That's how I ended up sitting across from her at our favorite cafe, waiting for her to come out with whatever big secret she had to share. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared me for what she said next. "I've been seeing someone," she said, fidgeting with her coffee cup. Her eyes darted up to meet mine, nervous and unsure, and it felt strange coming from her. Maya was always so confident, so put together, and rarely ever hid anything from me. "Okay," I prompted, sensing there was more she was holding back. "So, who's the lucky guy?" She took a deep breath, and I felt a pit form in my stomach even before she spoke. "It's Adam," she said softly, as though testing the waters, watching my reaction closely. "We've been together for a while now." The name hit me like a freight train. Adam, my ex-husband, the father of my 2 children, the man I'd spent nearly a decade with before our bitter divorce. I felt the blood drain from my face as I tried to wrap my head around what she was telling me. "You're dating Adam?" I barely got the words out, my voice sounding thin and unfamiliar. She nodded, her face a mixture of guilt and defiance. "I know it sounds shocking, but it wasn't intentional. It just happened. After your divorce, he and I ran into each other a few times, and we just connected." I sat there, speechless as she continued, seemingly gathering courage now that the truth was out. He was going through a hard time, and so was I. We leaned on each other, and over time, it turned into something more. I wanted to scream, to shake her, to ask her how she could betray me like this. But I was frozen, trying to process everything she was saying. Adam and Maya, my sister and the man I'd once thought I'd spend the rest of my life with. "It's been going on for a while," she continued, her voice softer now, as if she understood how deeply this was cutting me. "We didn't tell you because we didn't want to hurt you. We thought it might just be a phase. But now, things are serious, and we're getting married, Jenna." The word married barely registered before I felt my heart shatter. Not only had she been dating my ex-husband behind my back, but they were planning a life together, one she hadn't thought to tell me about until now. I could feel my hands shaking as I tried to keep my composure to not completely break down in the middle of the cafe. "And there's more," she added, her voice faltering. She looked down, her face flushed, unable to meet my gaze. "Adam and we've been talking about custody." My mind went blank. "Custody? Of my kids? What are you talking about?" I managed to whisper, my voice cracking. She bit her lip, finally looking up at me. "Jenna, you've been struggling with work and handling everything on your own since the divorce. Adam and we thought it might be better for the kids if they had a more stable home environment. We could give them that. You wouldn't have to worry about juggling everything by yourself." It was like she was trying to rewrite reality, to take my life, my children, and replace me. "Maya, they're my children. I'm their mother. You can't just take them from me because things are complicated," I said, anger slowly rising over the shock. Her face softened, as if she pitied me, which only made it worse. "Jenna, I'm not trying to take them from you. I'm just saying that Adam and I could provide a better life for them. You'd still see them whenever you wanted, but they have a home with 2 parents, stability, and—" I cut her off, the anger boiling over. "And you think you can just swoop in and decide this? That I'm not good enough for my own kids? You don't get to just take over my life, Maya." She looked hurt, but there was a steely resolve in her eyes. "We're not taking over, Jenna. We're just trying to do what's best for everyone. And I want you to be a part of it. We want you to be our maid of honor." The world felt like it was spinning around me, her words barely registering. Maid of honor? She was asking me to stand up beside her, to support her, as she married my ex-husband and tried to take my kids away. I stood up abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor. People around us looked over, but I didn't care. I couldn't stay here another second. Couldn't sit across from her and listen to her try to justify this betrayal. "Jenna, wait," she called after me, her voice desperate, but I didn't turn back. I pushed through the doors, out into the fresh air, and took a deep, shaky breath. My whole world felt like it was crashing down around me. The sister I'd trusted, the person I'd leaned on after my divorce, was now trying to replace me in every way possible. As I walked away, my phone buzzed. A message from Maya. I know you're upset, but we need to talk about this. Please think about the kids. Think about how this could be good for them. Her words only fueled the fire inside me. She was using my children to justify everything, twisting the knife even deeper. I couldn't understand how she'd kept this secret, how she'd let it go on for years without a word. And now she wanted to just pull a rug out from under me to erase my place in my children's lives and in her own. Over the next few days, the anger turned into a simmering bitterness, a sense of betrayal so deep I could barely think straight. The messages from Maya kept coming, alternating between apologetic and firm, as though she couldn't decide if she should be sorry or if she should stand her ground. But each message only reminded me that my sister, the one person I'd always trusted, had chosen him, Adam, over me. Finally, I agreed to meet her again. If she wanted to justify herself, I'd let her try. But I wasn't going to let her walk away thinking this was something I'd ever forgive. When I met Maya again, it wasn't at the same cozy cafe where she'd first dropped the news. This time, I chose a public park, a space where I could leave easily if I needed to, somewhere that didn't feel tainted by her words. As I sat on the bench waiting, I watched families around me, kids laughing and running through the grass, parents close by. The sight of it twisted something deep inside me. It was the very life I tried to build for my kids, the stability I fought to keep after Adam and I split. When Maya finally arrived, she gave me a small, uncertain smile and sat beside me, clutching her bag. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke, and I could feel her glancing at me, waiting for me to break the silence. But I wouldn't give her that satisfaction. I was here for answers, not to ease her conscience. Finally, she took a deep breath and spoke. Jenna, I'm so glad you agreed to meet. I know you're upset, and I don't blame you, but I just want you to understand where I'm coming from. I looked straight ahead, keeping my voice steady. I'm here to understand why my own sister would hide a relationship with my ex-husband for years. Why she'd go behind my back and build a whole life with him, only to drop it on me with the expectation that I'd somehow be okay with it. Maya bit her lip, her fingers twisting nervously in her lap. I know it sounds terrible, but when Adam and I started seeing each other, we really didn't know where it was going. I didn't even expect it to last. I didn't think we'd fall in love. She said the words carefully, as if she were handling something fragile, but her tone, her calmness, only made me angrier. So, you loved him? Fine, I said, unable to hold back the bitterness in my voice. But you didn't think I deserved to know, even after all these years. Even after watching me struggle, after confiding in you about my pain, you just kept quiet. It wasn't like that, Jenna. She turned to face me, her eyes pleading. I never wanted to hurt you. I thought it would be kinder to wait to see if we were really serious before telling you. But then it became too late, and I was scared. I knew this would hurt you, but by then, I didn't know how to tell you without breaking your heart. Well, that worked out perfectly, didn't it? I said, my voice breaking. Now my heart's fine, isn't it? All patched up after you decided to drop it all at once. Oh, and the wedding plans, and the idea that you're going to take my kids while you're at it. Maya's face fell, but she didn't back down. Jenna, the last thing I want to do is take them away from you. But I know you're struggling with work and finances, and they deserve a stable home. They're with you one week, with Adam the next. It's not easy for them. Adam and I can offer them a place to live, a family together. You'd still see them as often as you want. This isn't about erasing you from their lives. You really don't see what you're asking, do you? I said, stunned by her audacity. You want me to just hand over my kids and be grateful that you're willing to let me visit them. You're saying I'm not good enough as their mother. No, that's not it, she insisted, her voice growing defensive. You're an amazing mom, Jenna. But Adam and I could give them more stability. Isn't that what matters? I felt a deep ache settle in my chest, the words echoing in my head. Stability. That's what she'd always used against me. All those years we were married, Adam would talk about stability like it was something I could never provide enough of. He wanted control, and when he couldn't have it, He twisted everything until he left me feeling like I wasn't capable. Did Adam feed you those lines, Maya? I asked, my voice low. Did he convince you that I'm not stable enough? Because that sounds a lot like the man who told me I couldn't handle raising our kids alone. Her face tightened, and I knew I'd struck a nerve. No, he didn't, she replied, a little too quickly. I've seen how hard it's been for you, Jenna, and I thought you might want a little help. I shook my head, feeling the weight of everything she'd taken from me. You're not talking about help, Maya. You're talking about taking over. You want to walk into my life and make yourself the center of it. And for what? For him? For someone who never cared about anything but himself. Maya flinched, but she held her ground. I'm not replacing you. I'm trying to give them a family, Jenna. A family that works. And yes, that means I want you to be a part of it. We both do. We want you to be the maid of honor. The words made my stomach turn. She was asking me to smile, to stand beside her at her wedding, as if all of this hadn't shattered my life into pieces. Do you really think I could stand there and watch you marry the father of my kids? Do you think I'd be okay playing along like this was a normal wedding? It could be a chance to make peace, she replied softly. We're family, Jenna. I'm trying to give you a place in all of this to keep you close. We don't have to be enemies. I stared at her, the disbelief turning into something sharper. Family? Family doesn't do what you did, Maya. Family doesn't sneak around, hide a relationship with someone who caused so much pain, and then try to rewrite my life for their own benefit. She opened her mouth to respond, but I cut her off. You know what's worse than losing Adam? Losing you. Losing the sister I thought would be by my side through anything, no matter what. And now you're sitting here, trying to justify it all like it's nothing. Maya's eyes filled with tears, but I didn't let it sway me. For once, I was seeing things clearly. She'd made her choice, and now she wanted me to make peace with it, to accept a place on the sidelines of my own life. This isn't just about Adam, I continued, my voice low but steady. It's about you, Maya. You made a choice to be with him, to keep it from me, and to push me out of my own children's lives. And you expect me to just fall in line? She looked down, wiping her eyes. Jenna, I'm so sorry. I don't know what else to say. Then don't say anything, I replied, my voice breaking. If you want to marry him, go ahead, but don't expect me to be there. Don't expect me to be happy for you. I got up, leaving her there on the bench, her head in her hands. The betrayal ran so deep, cutting through years of trust and love. As I walked away, I realized I didn't just lose my sister. I'd lost the last bit of family I thought I could count on. In the days following that conversation, the hurt only deepened. Every time I tried to focus on work or just get through the day, a message would come through from Maya, some new version of an apology or explanation. Some days it was a long, pleading text asking me to try to see it from her perspective. Other days it was shorter, a quick "I just miss you" or "You're still my sister." But every message only seemed to twist the knife further, a constant reminder of what she'd done. I couldn't bring myself to respond. I couldn't bring myself to even consider seeing it from her perspective, because every time I tried, all I felt was betrayal. She was asking me to accept her new life, one that seemed to take everything I'd ever held dear and rewrite it in her favor. Then, late one evening, my phone buzzed with a message from Adam instead. I stared at it for a long time, debating whether to open it, already sure that whatever he had to say couldn't make any of this better. But curiosity got the better of me, and I clicked on it. Jenna, I know you're hurt. I know this is all a lot to process. But I think, if you could see things from a bigger perspective, you'd realize this could be the best thing for all of us. Maya and I want to give the kids a good home, and we want you to be part of it. You're their mother, and we would never take that away from you. I hope you'll at least consider what's best for them. Reading it felt like being slapped. He was acting like this was some generous offer, one where he and Maya would let me be a part of my own children's lives, as if they were graciously allowing me to have a place in their new world. He was reducing me to an accessory, someone who could pop in when it was convenient. And what stung most was his assumption that he, not me, was the authority on what was best for my kids. For days, I ignored both of them. I didn't trust myself to respond, not without saying something I couldn't take back. I knew I needed to keep things level, to not let this escalate to a point where Adam could try to actually act on his talk of stability and what's best for the kids. Then one day, as I was picking up my kids from school, Maya was waiting outside my car. I stopped in my tracks when I saw her, glancing quickly at my kids, who were just walking out of the building. I didn't want them to see us arguing or sense the tension between us, so I approached her cautiously. "What are you doing here?" I asked, keeping my voice low. "Jenna, please. I just wanted to talk," she said, looking frazzled, her eyes tired as if she hadn't slept in days. "You won't respond to my messages, and I didn't know how else to reach you. This is tearing me apart." I could feel my anger simmering beneath the surface, but I forced myself to stay calm. "I don't know what you expect me to say, Maya. You made your choices, and you're asking me to go along with something I can't accept. I don't think there's anything left to say." She took a shaky breath, looking down. "I know you're hurt, and I'll never forgive myself for that. But I love Adam, and he loves me. I never wanted it to happen like this, but I don't know how to make it right." "Make it right?" I laughed bitterly. "You've already decided what's best for everyone, Maya. You and Adam have it all planned out, don't you?" She winced, but didn't back down. "We just thought that if we could show you how stable things could be, you'd see that it's for the best. Adam and I want to give the kids everything they need. I know it feels like a betrayal, but maybe this could be easier for all of us." I felt a surge of anger, but I forced myself to keep my tone even. "Easier for who, Maya?" "For you and Adam, because it sure isn't easier for me or for the kids." The kids were getting closer now, and I didn't want them to see us standing here, locked in this argument. I turned to leave, but Maya grabbed my arm, her eyes filling with tears. "Jenna, please. Just think about it. If we could all just work together, that doesn't have to be like this." I pulled my arm away, my voice cold. "It's already like this, Maya. You and Adam did that." Without another word, I turned and walked toward the school entrance, doing my best to shake off the encounter. But the confrontation lingered, her words echoing in my mind. She was trying to turn this into a twisted version of co-parenting, one where I was supposed to just sit back and let her take control. Later that night, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I called my best friend, Lydia 34F, who'd been there through the worst of my marriage and divorce. She'd known Adam's manipulative streak, had seen how he tried to control every aspect of my life. She listened quietly as I poured out everything: Maya's confession, their plans, their push for custody, and their attempts to rewrite my role in my own children's lives. When I finished, she was silent for a moment, then finally said, "Jenna, this isn't just about them being selfish. This is Adam's way of trying to keep control over you. He's using Maya to put himself in a position where he can dictate what happens with the kids, with you. He wants you to feel like you have no choice." Her words hit me hard. I'd always known deep down that Adam thrived on control, that he tried to keep his grip on me even after the divorce. But hearing it so plainly, seeing how it all fit, made everything click into place. I felt a renewed sense of determination. I wasn't going to let Adam and Maya push me out. I'd have fought too hard to rebuild my life, to keep my kids safe and grounded. They weren't going to decide my future, or my children's. The next day, I sat down with a lawyer, a woman named Sandra, 46F, who specialized in family law. I laid out everything, from the custody push to the manipulation, the pressure from my own sister, and the way Adam was using her to get what he wanted. Sandra listened intently, nodding as she took notes. "Jenna, I've seen cases like this before. The good news is that you have a strong case to retain primary custody. If they want to challenge that, they're going to need a lot more than stability as a reason. The court cares about what's best for the kids, and if you can show that you're a fit mother and that this arrangement would be disruptive to them, they won't have much ground to stand on." Hearing that was like a weight lifting off my chest. For so long, I'd felt powerless, like Adam and Maya held all the cards. But now, for the first time, I felt like I had a way to fight back. A way to protect what mattered most to me. Sandra continued, "I recommend keeping your distance from both of them for now. No more meetings, no more responding to texts or calls. If they contact you, let me know immediately. It's important to show that you're focused on your kids and their well-being above everything else." I nodded, feeling a new sense of purpose. "Thank you. I don't want to make this ugly, but I won't let them take my kids. She gave me a reassuring smile. You're doing the right thing, Jenna. Sometimes standing up for yourself and your family means drawing a hard line. After leaving Sandra's office, I felt a renewed strength. Adam and Maya wanted to rewrite my role, to push me to the sidelines of my own life. But I wasn't going to let them. This wasn't just about custody. It was about standing my ground, about showing them that they couldn't control me over my kids. When I got home, I went through my messages and deleted everyone from Maya and Adam, blocking both of their numbers. I didn't need their apologies or their explanations. I knew where I stood, and I knew what I needed to do. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt ready to face whatever came next. I was done letting them manipulate me, done letting them define my place in my own family, and I wasn't going to back down. In the weeks that followed, I kept my distance from both Maya and Adam. I stopped replying to their messages, blocked their numbers, and limited what I shared with my parents, knowing that any bit of information might somehow get back to them. It was strange at first, pulling away from my own sister, someone I'd once trusted with everything, but the space felt freeing. With the support of my lawyer, Sandra, I felt like I was slowly regaining control over my life. But even as I focused on my children and tried to maintain a sense of normalcy, I knew the silence wouldn't last. Sure enough, one afternoon, just as I was picking my kids up from school, my mother, Mary Ann, 62F, called, her voice urgent. "Jenna, we need to talk," she said, not bothering with any pleasantries. I could already feel the tension building in my chest. About what? She hesitated before saying, "Your sister is heartbroken, Jenna. She's tried reaching out to you, and all she gets is silence. Can't you two work this out? This distance between you is tearing the family apart." I took a deep breath, reminding myself to stay calm. "Mom, this distance is because Maya lied to me, went behind my back, and now wants to take my children. This isn't something you just work out over coffee." "She's not trying to take them from you," my mother insisted, her tone softening as if to coax me. "She and Adam simply want what's best for the kids. They think they can offer a more stable home. That's all. And maybe they're right, Jenna." I froze, her words like ice in my veins. "What do you mean, they're right? You've been under so much stress since the divorce, and you're doing it all on your own," she said, her voice laced with sympathy. "Maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing to let them help. You'd still see the kids all the time, just without all the burden." The anger simmered just beneath the surface. "Mom, they are my children. They are not some burden I need help with. I don't want or need Adam and Maya taking over. I'm perfectly capable of raising my own kids." She sighed, exasperated. "You're being stubborn. You're letting pride get in the way of what might actually be best for everyone." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own mother, who'd watched me fight for my independence, for my sanity after the divorce, was siding with Maya and Adam, backing them up as if they were offering some incredible favor. As if I, the mother of these children, was secondary in all of this. I kept my voice as steady as I could. "Mom, I'm done explaining myself. If you think they're what's best for my kids, then maybe you don't know me as well as I thought." The silence on her end was sharp and pointed, but I couldn't stay on the call any longer. I hung up feeling a mix of anger and betrayal. It was one thing for Maya and Adam to try to strong-arm me out of my own life, but now my mother was backing them too. That evening, I updated Sandra on the latest developments. "They're trying to chip away at your confidence," she said, frowning. "This isn't uncommon in cases like these. But if it escalates, we'll be ready to take this to court." Hearing her say it out loud felt like a weight pressing down on me. The thought of a custody battle with Adam and Maya was nauseating, but I knew it was coming. They wouldn't back off without a fight. A few days later, Maya showed up at my front door. I hadn't spoken to her in weeks, and seeing her standing there, looking as if nothing was wrong, sent a wave of frustration through me. But I forced myself to stay calm as I opened the door. "Jenna," she started, giving me a hesitant smile. "I just wanted to check in. I feel like you've shut me out, and it's been really hard." I crossed my arms, blocking the doorway. "Maya, you tried to take my life and repackage it as your own. What did you expect?" She sighed, looking down. "I just wish you could see that we're not trying to hurt you. This isn't about replacing you. It's about giving the kids a stable family." That's the thing, Maya, I replied, my voice hard. You don't get to decide what's best for my kids. I've worked too hard to let you and Adam swoop in and change everything because it suits you. She looked at me, her eyes softening. You're making this so much harder than it has to be. We're family, Jenna, and we love those kids too. Why can't you let us help? Because helping isn't what you're offering, I shot back. You're offering to take over, to let me be a visitor in my own children's lives. And I won't do that. She looked like she wanted to say more, but I didn't give her the chance. If you really cared about my well-being, about the kids' well-being, you respect my boundaries, but this isn't about them or me. It's about you and Adam getting exactly what you want. Her face turned to stone, her expression hardening. Fine, but remember that you're the one shutting us out. If you won't let us be a part of this, then maybe you're the one putting the kids in a difficult position. Without another word, she turned and left, leaving me standing in the doorway, the weight of her words hanging heavy in the air. The following week, I received a court notice in the mail. Adam and Maya were formally filing for partial custody, claiming they could provide a more stable and consistent environment for the kids. I stared at the notice, anger and disbelief swirling together as I realized just how far they were willing to go. When I showed the notice to Sandra, she shook her head. They're coming in with everything they got. But don't worry, Jenna. We'll fight this. As the days inched closer to the court date, I couldn't shake the anxiety. Every interaction with my kids became charged, every bedtime story and morning breakfast a painful reminder that I could lose time with them because of Adam's twisted idea of stability. I knew Maya would say whatever it took to back him up. She'd already chosen her side. But I was determined to fight. The morning of the hearing, I sat in the courtroom with Sandra by my side, watching as Adam and Maya walked in, sitting together at the opposite table. Adam wore a carefully controlled expression, and Maya kept glancing over at me, her face a mixture of pity and determination. It was as if she believed she was doing me a favor by showing up, by fighting me for the right to control my life and my children's lives. The judge listened as Adam's lawyer argued that my financial struggles and status as a single mother had impacted the children's stability. Maya's lawyer chimed in, portraying her as a loving aunt who only wanted what was best for her niece and nephew, subtly implying that their lives would be improved if they were under Adam and Maya's roof. Then it was Sandra's turn, and she took to the floor, unwavering. She presented evidence of my care and commitment as a mother, painting a picture of a strong, resilient woman who'd raised 2 children alone despite immense challenges. She questioned why, if stability had been such a concern, Adam hadn't raised these issues sooner, and why Maya hadn't voiced them before she became romantically involved with him. Finally, Sandra brought up Adam's history of control and manipulation, detailing how he had once tried to make me feel incapable as a mother. What we see here, she concluded, is an attempt to sideline Jenna in her children's lives, to replace her role rather than support it. The mother is not asking for anything but what she's already providing, a safe, loving home for her children. As she spoke, I glanced at Maya, who looked pale, fidgeting in her seat. Adam, however, remained impassive, as though he believed he had the upper hand. The judge reviewed our statements, then turned to Adam and Maya. Family support is admirable, but it must be just that, support. The mother has shown herself to be competent and dedicated. Unless significant evidence is provided to prove that the children are at risk, the court sees no reason to alter custody. I felt a wave of relief so powerful it nearly left me dizzy. Adam and Maya had tried to paint me as weak, incapable, but the court had seen through their facade. My kids were safe, and my place in their lives was secure. As we left the courtroom, Maya approached me, looking as if she wanted to say something. But I shook my head, unwilling to hear another word. This wasn't a wound that could be patched up, and we both knew it. I walked out with my head held high, Sandra by my side, feeling stronger than I had in years. Adam and Maya had tried to take everything, but they hadn't won. And as I looked forward to rebuilding a life free from their grasp, I knew this was only the beginning of a new chapter, one I'd write on my own terms. The days following the court victory felt surreal, a strange mix of relief and lingering sadness. I had won back the right to keep my family intact, but there was no celebrating the fallout. Adam and Maya had done more than just challenge custody. They'd revealed a willingness to tear apart every boundary I had, to take control of the one thing that mattered most to me. and that betrayal would haunt me for a long time. I tried to move forward, to focus on giving my kids a life untouched by the storm that Adam and Maya had tried to unleash. At first, it was hard. I'd have flashbacks to the court hearing, to the accusations they'd leveled at me. Even little things, packing lunches, helping with homework, tucking the kids in, reminded me that they'd almost lost these moments with me. And I'd almost lost them. A week after the hearing, my mom called. I'd been avoiding her, avoiding anyone I thought might try to bridge the gap between me and Maya. But I finally picked up, figuring she'd want to talk about what happened. "Hi, honey," she started, her tone subdued. "I wanted to check in, see how you're doing." I was quiet for a moment, then finally answered, "I'm getting by, Mom. Things are starting to feel normal again." She hesitated, then said, "Look, I know things have been rough, and I can't imagine how betrayed you must feel. But Maya she's devastated, Jenna. She never wanted this to go that far. She thought she could replace me." I cut in, my voice calm but firm. "That's what she thought, Mom. She thought she could rewrite my life, as if what I've been doing for my kids wasn't enough." There was a silence, then a small sigh. "I understand that you're hurt, Jenna, but Maya's still your sister. She regrets how everything happened, and she wants to apologize. She doesn't want to lose you." A sharp anger flared up in me. I lost her the minute she decided my life wasn't good enough. The minute she decided that she knew better than me. There's no apology that can change that. My mother's voice softened. "I'm not saying you have to forgive her right away, but maybe one day, just give her a chance to explain herself, to find some kind of peace." I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of her words. It wasn't the first time I'd heard this from her, the expectation that I'd eventually come around, that time would soften the betrayal. But this wasn't just a fight or a misunderstanding. This was Maya trying to take my place. "I'll think about it," I said finally, just to end the conversation. "But for now, I need space. From everyone." She murmured something about understanding, but I could tell she wasn't happy. I'd barely hung up before a text from Maya came through, asking if I'd talk to her. She said she wanted to explain, to make things right, but I deleted it without responding. I knew that talking to her would only reopen wounds that were still fresh. In the following months, life started to settle. I threw myself into my work, into time with my kids. I made sure every weekend was packed with plans, movie nights, trips to the park, visits to the aquarium. Anything that kept us connected, kept us feeling like a team. My kids were young, but they were perceptive, and I could tell they sensed the change. They didn't ask about Adam or Maya, and I didn't volunteer any information. Lee, my closest friend, was a godsend during that time. She'd been a constant source of strength, a shoulder to lean on without asking anything in return. One evening, as we sat at my kitchen table after the kids had gone to bed, she looked at me with an understanding smile. "You know, Jenna, what you did. It's not something everyone could have handled. Standing up to Adam, to Maya, to your own family. That takes more strength than most people have." I let out a shaky laugh, shrugging. I don't know if it was strength or just desperation to keep my kids safe. To keep myself safe. She reached over, taking my hand. "That's exactly what makes you strong. You didn't let anyone tell you what was best for you or your family. And don't let anyone make you feel guilty for that." Her words stayed with me, a reminder that I didn't have to let go of my anger just because others wanted me to. I didn't owe Maya or Adam a single ounce of forgiveness. But then, one morning, as I was dropping the kids off at school, I saw Maya waiting by the parking lot. I hadn't seen her in months, and it was jarring to see her face, to remember the easy closeness we once shared. I tried to ignore her, focusing on saying goodbye to the kids. But she walked over just as I turned to leave. "Jenna, please," she said, her voice quiet, almost pleading. "I just want to talk. Just 5 minutes." I hesitated, wanting to leave, but something held me back. Maybe it was the hope for closure, or maybe it was a desire to finally put an end to everything once and for all. 5 minutes, I said, crossing my arms as I kept a firm distance. "That's it." Maya nodded, taking a shaky breath. "I know you're angry, and I deserve that. I was selfish, I was thoughtless, and I was wrong. I thought that maybe if I gave you time, you'd forgive me or at least let me explain. But it's clear now that I can't expect that from you. I stayed silent, watching her carefully as she went on. I thought that because Adam and I loved each other, it justified everything. I thought that wanting to build a family with him meant I was doing something good, something meaningful. But I realize now that I was wrong. I tried to replace you to make myself feel important, and I hurt you in ways I can't ever take back. She paused, looking down, her voice barely a whisper. I miss you, Jenna, and if I could undo everything, I would, but I know that's not possible. I wanted you to know that. I searched her face, looking for any sign that this was another manipulation, another attempt to wear me down. But for the first time, I saw real regret in her eyes. And while it didn't erase what she'd done, it softened something inside me. I don't know if I can ever forgive you, Maya, I said slowly. You hurt me, you tried to take my life, my children. I don't think I'll ever understand why you thought that was okay. She nodded, her face pale. I know. I don't expect forgiveness, and I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of everything we'd lost between us. I didn't know if I could ever let her back into my life, but I knew that I'd finally said my piece, and so had she. Without another word, I turned and walked away. I didn't look back, but I felt a strange sense of peace as I left her standing there. Maybe one day I'd find it in me to forgive her. Or maybe I wouldn't. But for the first time, I felt like that choice was mine, and mine alone. As I drove home, I felt lighter, like a chapter had finally closed. Adam and Maya had tried to take over my life, but I'd fought for my place, for my children, and for my own sense of worth. Whatever came next, I knew I'd face it on my own terms. And that was all the closure I needed.